Welcome to another episode of For the Sake of Heaviness.
Heaviness.
As always, I'm Merciful Mike, joined by my partner in crime.
I'm Butch Balich.
Yes, you are.
Hello.
You are Butch Ballard.
Greetings.
We are absolutely thrilled to have the one and only Miss Sue Verica with us today. How you doing, Sue?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Good. We
Greetings, Sue.
appreciate you
Hello.
jumping on with us. So we're gonna have ourselves a little metal roundtable conversation here, and Butch, just jump in whenever you're ready to. So, Sue, what we'd like to do with a lot of our guests is we just like to start at the beginning, and you've got quite an awesome, metal history, so to speak. So, let's talk about young Sue. Where did your love of all things heavy come from?
Okay, so I was growing up in northern New Jersey, a little town called Maplewood, um, about 30 miles from New York City. And, one day my older brother came home with Kiss Alive, and the
Yeah.
rest is history. So, to be a little more specific, as soon as I heard that album, I was just floored and I wanted to hear more. So I got into Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Boston, Ted Nugent, all the stuff that was popular at that time in the late 70s. And I guess it was probably from other kids at school or maybe some of the older kids. I started hearing about Judas Priest and Rush. When I heard The Spirit of Radio on the radio in 1980, that was it for me. I became really obsessed with Rush. But then in 1981, I was fiddling around with the radio in my room, and I discovered a college radio station, and there happened to be a metal show on at the time, and he was playing stuff I hadn't heard before, like Iron Maiden and Def Leppard. So I was like, wow, this sounds really cool, and I'd like to hear more of this. So I started tuning into that show regularly, and I got right into all the underground stuff. So
So the denim patch vest wasn't far behind at that point, right?
that's right, yeah. So at that point, I was like in middle school. By the time I got to high school, I was really into it and starting to go to a local record store called Vintage Vinyl, which was like the best record store in the Northeast, in my opinion. And they got all the metal imports and all the magazines and stuff. So I was reading Kerrang and
Yeah.
getting into all that stuff, new wave of British heavy metal, and like. And then in 1983, I put in a pen pal ad in Kerrang, and I started getting pen pals from all over Europe and the US. So then I started with tape trading, and
Yeah.
that's how I got into all the demo bands and really got into thrash and that kind of stuff.
What a lost art that is. The pen pals and the
Yes.
Yeah.
trading. We've talked about that quite a bit on the show about, how lucky all of us at this, particular age were to be part of that movement, because
That's
you're
right.
never going to see anything like that again. Or we're
Yes.
we're sitting there trading physical formats, across oceans and
Yeah.
and personally writing things. So that was a lot of cool. So Sue, did the whole tape trading, pen pals and correspondence, did that spark your interest in zines? Because like us, it was Kerrang, it was Metal Forces, it was all those early ones. So is that what got you interested in thinking you could start your own?
Yes, definitely. I had decided in high school that I really wanted to go to college for communications, and my aspiration was to be in radio. So I ended up going to college, and I was on the college radio station, and I really enjoyed doing all of that. But through my internship at a New York hit radio station, I decided that radio was not for me. So, like when I saw the business of it, that it's really got nothing to do with music, it really turned me off to the whole concept of radio. But I will always cherish my 4 years as a college DJ. That was fantastic.
You and I have parallel roads in that matter because I did the same
Right.
thing. I went for
Okay.
communications and I
Uh-huh.
did more radio production work than DJing,
Yeah.
but I went to Oshkosh and there was a metal show called Megahertz. So
Okay.
I was on there and that opened my eyes up to a lot of different music too. So
Hmm.
I know where you're coming from. So
I'm jealous because I got turned down at Pitt. I went in to interview to be because I grew up where I grew up in the Lehigh Valley. There were a couple of college radio stations, and again, I mean, like you were saying too, that's where I found out about like I don't know how many gazillion bands I never would have found about otherwise, except for friends at school. Bands like Omen and
Hmm.
Lizzie Borden and early Metallica and
Hmm.
things like that. So, when I got to Pitt in '89, I was like, well, I went over and interviewed with them to try to see if I could get in and get a metal show. And they started asking me questions about what bands I listened to. And I must have name dropped the wrong ones. It must not have been extreme enough. I know I said Priest and I mentioned Icon and
Uh-huh.
some other stuff like that. But the show that Pitt had at the time that, Mary Bielik was part of that show and they were playing like early death metal and really heavy stuff. So I'm jealous of the both of you. And my kid, when she went to Pitt, she got to be a DJ. So I like missed the
Oh, sorry to hear.
feel
Yeah.
bad for me.
Well,
does
now
she
you're
stick it
making
to you once in a while, Butch? I'm on the radio, Dad.
No, she still encouraged me to try to do I guess in the summers they do like if you're an alum, you could get an alum show. Maybe
hmm
someday I'll be like, here's music that old people used to listen to.
Yep. So that was great. I got to do my first in-person interview when I was on college radio. We went up to New York and interviewed Candlemass.
Oh
Nice.
man.
Their Nightfall album had just come out, and I sat with Messiah and Leaf, and that was amazing. I have a tape of it. I gotta listen to that
I was
sometime.
just gonna ask you if you still have those recordings.
I do.
Wow.
And we had Overkill come in the studio, and we kind of did a group interview with them. The Japanese band Easy O came in, so that was
Wow.
cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, and I did one with Whiplash, and that was so hilarious because the one guy, TJ Scaglione, he was so drunk, and it was just hilarious.
That's fantastic. Oh, see,
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff I love. I love those
Mhm.
hearing those stories from back then from people that actually interacted with, all those bands that we grew up with.
That's right. So then once I graduated, excuse me, from college, I went into this terrible depression because I missed the radio show so much and just working full time and all of it. And I just felt like, oh, I need to do something to get involved again. So
Yeah,
that's when I came up with the idea to start the fanzine.
right.
So that was part of the motivation. And plus, I was friendly with a lot of local bands, like local thrash bands. So it
Sure.
gave me a vehicle to cover them.
That's awesome. Now that was Manic Reaction, right? And that ran for about 7 years.
Yeah, it was 91 to 98. Yes. And in that time, I put out 13 issues.
Wow.
I had
Awesome.
one main co-editor was CJ Shosha, who is now in Blood Feast. He's the guitar player in Blood Feast. But other than him, I had a lot of different people working on it.
That's
So
awesome.
when you started up the fanzine when you were in college and prior to that, had you done coursework in writing or did it just, it kind of flowed out of what you did in radio, like that experience, like interviewing people, you just kind of like took it into the writing sphere, or did you study it all for that?
Well, when I was 7 years old, I wrote a story and I announced that I wanted to be a writer for a living. And I kind of stuck with that. So I all through high school, and I was encouraged to do writing by my teachers, and I won a writing award in high school. And then in the college I went to, they had a program called Writing Across the Curriculum. So all of my classes required papers and lots of essay
Mhm.
writing and that kind of thing, research papers and all that. So that was really great experience. And then when I was in my senior year, I started my job at a small ad agency. And I was like a receptionist, but I would occasionally get a chance to even do some writing for them. So it kind of grew from there. And today I'm a professional writer for a large company. So,
Great.
Dude, when you were doing Manic Reaction from the onstart, was that like old school zines? Because we got some underground stuff out by I'm just south of Milwaukee, so I'm right kind of in the middle of the whole
mhm.
country here. So we did get a couple of fanzines that would circulate through, but we had to kind of rely on friends that were pen pals with everybody else. But did you
Yeah.
do the old, Xerox and staple pages and send it out that way, or how did you go about
Um,
putting that together?
we used to actually take it to a print shop.
Okay.
And because I worked at this ad agency, I had access to a Mac, to a
Oh,
and it was great experience. I learned how to do the layouts. I did that all myself, and I was very meticulous about having the columns fit and the words fit on the page, and then
yeah.
where to put the pictures and all that stuff. So it actually was really good professional experience for me, in addition to being a great outlet to stay involved in the scene.
Yeah,
And what was
definitely.
really amazing to me was that I didn't know about all the promos and stuff. So, like, I had opened up a PO box, and after the first issue went out, I started getting all these promos in the mail, and I was like, "Wow, this is great!"
It's Christmas every day.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we had a couple of fanzines. One of them I remember it was called The Bludgeon Ear, and I want to say it was out kind of near you guys, by you and John, I think. But his was the old like literal Xerox and cut
Mhm.
the pictures out and tape them. You could see the
Yeah.
Scotch tape
Yeah.
Xeroxed on the pages, holding the
Yeah.
pictures. But there
Been
was
there,
such a
done that one.
charm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's such a charm to those old zines like that. I love that. So
Right. Yeah.
so
I
so
don't remember that one, but um,
yeah, no, there were
big
so many
one
of them.
near us. We had Chris Forbes with Metalcore, and he
Yeah,
had the longest running fanzine of anybody.
sure.
And he was a mutual friend of John and I, so we've both known him forever. He's a good guy.
So have you looked up like on eBay what some of your old issues are going for these days?
Well, we actually sell. I still had a few, so we're selling them, some of them
Nice.
ourselves, and
That's cool. That's
once in a while
awesome.
somebody will take one. Yeah.
So is it fair to say Manic Reaction was kind of a starting or a launch pad into the Metal Maniacs realm?
Oh yeah, it absolutely was. In 1995, um, I went out to the Foundations Forum in
Ah,
Burbank, California, which was a metal industry gathering,
sure.
like a trade show, so to speak. And there were tons of bands playing out. Like I remember seeing Testament and Life of Agony, and they were really pushing at the gates. And there were some earache bands and stuff. And but I had like my issue number 10, which came with a mixtape, like a compilation tape.
Yeah.
And I had that in the bags and I handed them out to everybody. And as soon as I got home, it was about 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a call from Catherine Ludwig
Yeah.
that she needed writers. So it was well worth whatever investment I had to go out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, talk about being in the right place at the right time.
That's
That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
So who was your now I gotta tell you, I'm almost positive I have every single issue of Metal Maniacs, maybe
Wow.
minus one or two. I
Wow.
started from like the get-go. And I think so many of us hold that magazine so near and dear because there was something every single writer, including yourself, that was part of the staff. You guys captured lightning in a bottle. It was such a joy to read. I mean, I was getting them in the mailbox still. I would when I knew it was about time for a new one and I didn't see it in the mailbox. Oh, it was like the worst part of my day.
Yeah.
But so what was your first assignment? Who was your first interview?
Okay, my first interview was with the New York City band Crisis.
Oh, sure.
There
Okay.
was a female singer named
Yep.
Karen
Karen.
Crisis. It was kind of an interesting record. And yeah, so I interviewed her and I wrote up the article. And I also had two reviews to do. One I know was Nail Bomb. And I unfortunately I can't remember what the other was, but
Sure.
that was my first assignment, and that came out in I believe it was I started doing the writing in October of 1995. I'm not sure when the issue hit the newsstand though. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So was there it's one of the things I liked about Metal Maniacs, as a, in contrast to, I mean, I grew up with all the magazines we all grew up with, the bigger magazines like Circus and Hit Parader. But I mean, you kind of got to know like those were kind of like, you know, cut and paste kind of jobs
Yeah.
at times. Like they weren't always, they were talking about an album success 2 months before the record came out. Like it was kind of like PR,
Yes.
like it kind of fluffy. And Metal Maniacs had like I feel like there's a lot more substance. It was one of the first magazines I remember getting, like thinking that there was like a realism in
Mhm.
the in the reviews and in the interviews. There were questions being asked that were, it wasn't just like cookie cutter kind
Yeah.
of stuff. I'm wondering how you balance the were there was there ever a pressure on you as writers to temper your um opinions based on like, for corporate considerations, or if like, if record label X is spending X amount of money on advertising, or did we find like a friendly, was it one of those things you had to find a friendlier spot for the bands, or you were given carte blanche to?
Well, okay, so I was just a freelancer. I was a staff writer, and I was pretty long established. Not being an editor, I didn't make those kind of decisions. But I think what they would do was like we were definitely allowed to express our opinions without holding back. But let's say if it was something like the trip I took to Finland to work with Stradivarius, they wouldn't have given that assignment to somebody who hates that kind of stuff,
Right.
So they gave it to people who were more amenable to whatever band it was. But like there were certainly some scathing reviews I put out there, and there was one particular time that I got some backlash for it. So
I think that's what we all enjoyed about Metal Maniacs. Speaking to your point, Butch, which is really good. Yeah, you guys didn't hold back. There wasn't any particular slant or bias toward
that's
anybody, and I for one appreciated it. If you guys reviewed an album and it sucked, I took it to heart. That I'm not going to pick this up. Sue said it sucked. I'm not buying this album. But even in the interviews, I always felt like it was much more of a conversation. And
yeah,
even like doing this show, I struggle with some of the questions because I don't want it to sound so, cookie cutter scripted. But
yeah,
all the interviews that you did specifically and the staff, it was just a good conversation, and it
yes,
just worked off of
yeah,
one another really good. And I think that's what it was such a pleasure to read cover to cover.
yeah.
Metal Maniacs. Like I just absolutely lived for it.
Yeah, well, I think like when Jeff Wagner was the assistant editor, that was like the golden age. We
Yeah.
had so many good writers and stuff at that time, and people who just were really passionate about it, and just really like good writers who knew what they were doing. So it
Yeah.
was great to be a part of it.
So through your years, which was what, 14 years, I think you were part
14
of
years.
it.
Yeah.
What's give us one or two of your like absolute favorite or just standout interviews for whatever reason. What sticks
Okay.
out to you?
One of my favorite ones was Death Angel. I went out to San Francisco and they were actually recording in the studio with their producer. And I
Nice.
got to see how that process worked and just playing the same thing over and over again. And the guys twiddling the knobs and stuff. And like when it's blasting through those studio speakers, it sounds amazing. But then, so at the end, they would take a CD and they would play it in like a car stereo or a little boombox, and to see what it would sound like in those formats, and you get a very different experience that way. So they had to make adjustments based on some of that. So I found that very interesting. Plus, they were just really nice guys. I really enjoyed doing that with them. And like I was there on a Friday night, and there's a show on the radio out there called Metal Zone. And I was riding in Marco Segata's car listening to this in San Francisco. It's like where Metallica came up and was played on that show. And it's just one of those things you remember.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So heavy metallurgy.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get involved with that crew? Because you had, well, actually, before we even jump in there,
Yeah.
I gotta ask this first. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I am still one of the very, very disgruntled subscription holders of Metal Maniacs because I
Yeah.
literally just renewed and then they pulled the plug.
That is such a shame. All of us writers feel so bad about that, but there wasn't a thing we could do about it. I
Yeah.
mean,
That
like,
was a corporate conglomerate decision to
yes,
axe you guys, right?
it was us and Metal Edge, which was even a more successful magazine. They were doing just fine, but I don't know. I guess they just weren't getting the revenue that they needed. So
Did you
it
guys
just,
have any kind of warning or it was just like, hey,
no warning.
pack your stuff?
Yeah, we got an email from Liz that she sent out to the whole staff saying, we can't even do a farewell issue,
Wow.
just, this is it. So I was really sad too, because when my daughter was born in 2006, I was just, really focused on taking care of her. So I kind of stepped away from the magazine for a little bit.
Sure.
But by '09, I was ready to get more into it. And I had just pitched a story with, what was that band? Attacker, I think it was. And it probably would have been fine, but, that was it. So,
That was a sad day.
yeah.
So in the meantime, after Metal Maniacs closes down, what are you guys doing up until the point where I know you hooked up with the Metallurgy crew? So
Yeah.
walk us through that a little bit.
Just focusing on my family and my
Sure.
regular work. I was kind of definitely stepped away from it. But John started doing the business. We have an online music store,
Yeah.
and over time he met some really interesting people, including John Zazula from Megaforce Records, and they became close, and we did a lot of business with him, and that was great. And we purchased collections from some other sources, and so that's kept some interest. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I heard from Jeff Wagner that Heavy Metallurgy was putting together this Maniacs reunion. So I was like, wow, yeah, that would be really cool. So it was myself, Jeff, S. Craig Zoller, Professor Black, and well, Marty himself, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I've been tuning in and watching your interviews and definitely subscribe to the channel. And
Oh, great.
yeah, you guys, there's some really fun stuff on there. And sometimes me and Butch think that, maybe we go on too long, but you guys go on some marathons there every now and again.
Oh, that's for sure. Especially if Zoller is on.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Butch, don't let me talk over you here if you want to jump in.
Well, so I just wanted to like kind of like pick your brain and like jump on like the flip of the question Mike was asking what some of your memorable interviews were. I guess memorable in a different way. And I don't mean like in a digging for dirt kind of way, but once in a while, like say if you get a hold of a band that's either on the tail end of their a PR period and they're wound down and
Mhm.
they've been asked like the same questions, or you get someone that's not the most personable. Like what were the things you would do to kind of like you'd have to do to like pull them out of their to get the kind of info out that you could
Mhm.
put a good interview together.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, the Metal Maniacs interviews mostly went pretty well. And I spoke to people like Rob Halford and Ronnie James Dio, and they were just fantastic. One of the less good ones I did was Bruce Dickinson, and it was about his solo career. It wasn't related to Maiden. It was the night before 9/11
Oh
in
wow.
Lower Manhattan, and I had walked right past the World Trade Center, and so at the time I felt, oh, this interview wasn't that great, but it turned out to be one of my best articles ever because of the setting of it.
Yeah.
Another really favorite one of mine was Obituary, when they had gotten back together after a bit of a hiatus for I think it was the Frozen
Hmm.
down in Tampa. That was a really cool one to do. Um, that's a case though where like a couple of the guys are really animated and stuff, and one of the guys was like a piece of wood, so
Yeah.
just, but you want to kind of include him still, so I tried to do a few questions directed just to him. um, and I always felt like I'm not the best interviewer. I'm just more of a writer. So I loved writing those kind of prose style interviews that weren't just Q&A. So to kind of bring a little bit more of my own interest into it. Like my articles on Trouble were always some of my favorites because I
Sure.
am so passionate about them.
Yeah.
What were your in pre-internet days, or pre when the internet, obviously we started having the internet in the early 90s and whatnot, but before things were the way they are now, where you can find out everything down to the length of someone's cuticles
Yeah.
on online, like what kind of, like, where did you go for researching
Yeah, I'm
some of
glad you
the
brought
bands you
that
were
up
working with?
because it was really challenging. Like you'd have to look at books and other magazines and stuff to try to get background information on these bands. I have to admit, on a few occasions, I got some stuff wrong just because I didn't have access to the information. But like I remember, I was trying to review something from the band Clutch, or I was getting ready to interview them or something, and I just couldn't find the info. So I had to call the label and I said, da da da, and even they didn't know right away. They had to get back to me. So it was challenging back then for sure.
Let me back up just a little bit, Sue, because you brought up Stradivarius and
Yes.
Twilight Time. I love that album. And
Mm-hmm.
you said that you got to go to Finland
I
to
did.
hang out with them.
Yeah, that
Okay,
was
I'm gonna
epic.
live vicariously through you right now. So how was that?
Oh, it was great because like I've always been fascinated by that country. One of my Kerrang pen pals was from there, so I just got interested in the culture. And so when they asked me if I wanted to go, I said, yeah, definitely. And like it was really cool just being there. And the sun goes down at 2:30 in the afternoon, and it doesn't come up till 10 in the morning. And
Wow.
it was just a very interesting place. And I was the only American there, the only like native English speaker, which was really cool. And I got to meet journalists from all over, like from France and Italy and Brazil and the Netherlands and the UK. So that was awesome. And as far as the band is concerned, like I had kind of a almost famous moment because I was trying to get an interview with Timo Tolkki, and it kept like getting canceled. It was just like in the movie. And he's like, oh, we'll do it in the car. We'll do it on the bus. We'll do it after dinner. And it just never happened. But thankfully, I got to interview the singer Timo Kotipelti and the keyboardist Jens Johansson, who's one of the funniest people I've ever met. So it was a great experience.
What was the basis for the trip? Was it just for Stradivarius, or was there like a bigger show going on that brought in more journalists?
It was just for them. At the
Okay.
time, they were the label's biggest selling band. In Europe, they were huge. It was for their album Infinite. which came out in year 2000. This was 1999 that I went. And the publicist explained to me, she said, like, if we took out a whole bunch of page ads, it would cost just as much as having these journalists come out and do all these really cool articles, feature stories, so.
Man, what an opportunity that had to have been.
Yeah, it was
You
great.
took a bunch of pictures, right?
I've never been a good photographer. I wish I had taken a lot more. I have some, but I wish I had more. Yeah.
Okay, so let me bounce off of that. Can we expect to see a Sue Verica memoir or an illustrated biography at any point?
I've dabbled in it. Like, I find it easier to talk about other people than myself, but I have a few chapters done.
Awesome. I think that would be so interesting to read for sure.
Oh, that's cool. I thought I would put people to sleep with it, but
No way.
Yeah, no way.
No, but Butch and I say this all the time, but it's those kind of stories that we just eat up.
yeah.
I could read volumes of anecdotes and stories by people like yourself and other musicians, and so is there? I'm trying to think how I can shape this question. Is there an ultimate project that maybe you haven't quite started yet, but you feel the need you have to do this at some point? Some magnum opus, kind of project or writing or.
Well, I would love to ghostwrite some books for some bands, and I have one in the works right now. There could be another one coming, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. And that's I'd be happy with that if that ever materialized.
Sure.
So with all your travels over the years and all the people you've met and meeting other journalists, have you made are there still people you stay in touch with on the reg, or
I wish I had, but how life gets in the way sometimes, and
definitely
you start out keeping in touch with people, and then it kind of fades away over time. But of course, with Facebook and all, it's a bit easier to stay in touch with some people.
Yeah. Well, you got any final questions on that part, Butch?
not on that part out.
All right, Sue, can we bring in our extra special guest at this point? Is John available?
He's here. Uh-oh, he's got something. Uh-oh. Get ready.
Hope it's safe for work.
He's wearing the Sergeant D mask or something. I know it.
Oh,
it's close.
Das Crimson Shadow.
What's up, John?
John, you're looking good, man.
Wow, you've aged, John.
I've aged. I've really aged. How you guys doing, man?
Good.
Doing
How are you?
good.
Cool.
Thanks for jumping on, John.
Man.
We do this with chosen guests that we know will have a good fun time with this. So we're gonna do a blind ranking, okay?
Okay.
This is how it goes. I'm going to show you 6 random albums in whatever order I grab them, and you have to rank them 1 through 6. But you have no idea what the next album might be. So think about it carefully. And then, like Butch and I always say, that whatever the final ranking is, we publish this, and we might shame you with it, or who knows?
That's easy to do.
Choose wisely, Padawan.
Just give me 1 second. I'm going to grab a water.
Yeah. Butch, you mind keeping track of these for me?
I'll keep track, yeah.
All right. John, what's the good word? How you been?
I'm all right, man. Hanging in there.
Are you guys still kind of in a little bit of limbo between moving to Florida, or how's that
man,
working out?
it's like a tennis match with that back and forth. We came this close to moving down to Jupiter, Florida a few months back.
Yeah, I remember seeing
fell
that.
through. So
yeah, the deal fell through.
And then we have our daughter here. She goes to college down near Atlantic City, so she has 2 more years. It's a lot to consider.
Yeah,
Sure.
This is not
I understand.
Yeah.
Are you guys still in the hunt as far as trying to find some property down there, or are you going to just let it sit for a little bit?
We still look. We've even considered Nevada.
Oh, wow. Okay.
really into Las Vegas.
Henderson area. Yeah, we're looking there, and we're looking South Florida. So
I
we'll
got you.
see.
Somewhere warm, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
somewhere out of here. This winter was terrible, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about. I'm up here by Milwaukee. It's never.
Oh, you
fun.
guys really get it. Yeah, I was in
Yeah.
Milwaukee once, one time.
Yeah, actually, unbeknownst to the both of us, we crossed paths at Milwaukee Metal Festival. Was it
Right. Yeah, I
96
went
or
out to
7?
film Sodom. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It was.
Yeah.
That's
Came out
one.
with the guys in Bloodstorm.
Bloodstorm. Actually, I've
Yeah.
got pictures of them because the Bloodstorm ended up, I think, playing in like one of the hallways, if I remember right.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And I've actually
Back
got a
alley.
bunch out. John, I will dig those pictures up for you. I have those tucked
Cool.
away someplace.
Yeah, that's
so,
awesome.
yeah. All right. 6 albums, blind ranking. You never know what's coming next. So here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Album number 1. Incantation.
Oh,
Onward, Golgotha.
love it. Friends with those guys. That lineup. I love it. Oh man. And I got to pick 1 to 6.
1 to 6. Where would this one
You
fall?
go first.
Well-
Ladies first.
For me, it would be 6 because I don't know that album. So,
Oh man. I don't know what you're going to give me next.
Yeah.
So
That's the fun of it.
to be safe, number 2.
Okay. Okay. So Sue says number 6. John's got number 2 on Incantation.
I'm
All right.
rules.
Ooh. All right. We'll see who chose wisely. Here
Wisely.
comes number 2. Ready?
Oh.
no brainer, number 1.
That's killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say number 1. Yeah.
Okay.
We both
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I'm a
album.
huge fan of that album.
Yeah.
Can't argue with you there. All right. Both of you with number 1. Okay, here comes your third choice. Where will this fall?
Oh, okay.
That was their second?
Second one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that tour, seeing that
Yeah,
tour.
that's a good one.
You go first. I don't want
I'm gonna guess at 3.
to. I'd give it a
3.
5. Yeah.
Okay.
Going 5. Okay. 3 and 5 it is. All right. Here comes the fourth album. We'll see where you guys place this one. Ready? Butch always laughs at me. Here we go.
That's the first metal tour I ever saw in 1981.
With the
And
red
they-
and yellow amps and
Yeah.
that stage set looked great for this record.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 5. It's not like I love Priest, but that's not one of my favorite Priest.
No, it's not one of my favorite, but I don't know what you're going to show us. So
Yeah.
I don't even know. I forget where I'm at in the rankings. How about number 4?
Okay. Go with number 4.
I think that record's like, for me, way underrated.
Well,
But
I think
Me
it's
too. I
underrated.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I
just-
could pull that album off the shelf just so I can listen to Desert Plains
It's
over
a
and
cool
over
album.
again.
It's really cool out in the desert.
Yeah.
Out in the desert, yeah.
Solar Angels too. What a song.
Yeah.
man.
That's cool.
I don't like it when people compare Point of Entry and Turbo. They have like this
No.
weird connection of, oh, that was Priest's like really down point.
I don't see it.
All right, here comes album number 5. Where will you place it? What slots are open for Sue and John? What do we got?
Sue has number 2 and number 4. John has number 3 and number 6.
Ooh, okay. These last 2 might be tough. All right, here we go.
Oh,
man.
see what he did?
See what you did.
Oh man.
No, I'm glad.
Trixie Hobbitses.
I'm glad I have 2 open because I'll put that at 2.
Okay.
I said 2 already, right?
Yeah.
So it'd
Yeah.
have to be 3. I already said number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Damn.
Well, we'll see how this lands for you guys because you've each only got 1 spot open. And our final number 6 happens to be
Okay. Yeah.
Fine 4.
Love that album.
Killer album.
Yeah, I'm comfortable putting that at number 4. Volume 4 at 4.
I don't know where I'm at. How many do I have left?
That's it.
That's it. That's your 6.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's it.
John's rankings were number 6 is Sabbath, 5 is Testament, 4 is Priest, 3 is Angel Witch, 2 is Incantation, 1 is Trouble.
Mhm.
Then Sue goes 6 Incantation, 5 Judas Priest, 4 Sabbath, 3 Testament, 2 Angel Witch, and 1 Trouble.
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
Pretty
I guess
good.
we can't.
If I knew what they were, it'd be a
really
little different.
I guess we can't shame you guys for those. Those came out pretty good. Maybe
No
like,
real duffers in that stack anyway. I mean, most of those records are good.
No.
Oh, I like them all, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're all good records, definitely.
Wow.
So
Killer.
anyway, John, you got anything going on you want to plug before we wrap up?
Just selling online forever.
Yeah,
We'd
yeah.
like to send a shout out to our friend Alex Books, who's on tour with Immolation right now.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Record
Very
just
cool.
dropped, so.
Yeah, they're in Las Vegas tonight. I said, go to the Golden Nugget. He's near Fremont Street playing. I said, try. Try a couple of one-armed bandits.
You guys got any shows coming up you might be hitting? Did you guys go to the
Yeah.
Testament Overkill show?
There's actually
we
this.
missed it.
No, we missed that, and that was sold out in North Jersey. Wednesday's Dead Meadow. I haven't seen them in quite a long time.
Yeah.
That's a maybe, but we definitely have tickets for the Scorpions in Las Vegas. We're going out in
Oh, fantastic.
September,
Yeah.
and maybe Sammy Hagar the next night.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That sounds like a pretty good
And
little
there's
trip there.
possibly, the Black Crows and Triumph.
and Triumph. Yeah, Triumph at April Wine. We might go see that in Camden, New Jersey.
Mhm.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
I'm trying to decide whether to try to get up to Jones Beach to see that. My aunt lives out Long Island, so
Okay,
Mhm.
we'll have to
come
see.
out
To
here.
see
You
how
can
the,
stay with us. Go to Camden.
I'm gonna show up at your doorstep.
That's all right. Come on over.
They're both going to be like, what are you doing here?
We have a little metal museum here.
We do, yes.
It's kind of cool.
Very cool.
Well, let me tell you, Sue, John, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much
Definitely.
for jumping on.
Oh man,
Yeah.
thanks for
Both of
having
you.
us. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
don't be
awesome.
strangers. You guys can
Yeah,
jump
open
on with us
invitation.
anytime.
Come on whenever you
Thanks,
want.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. If either of you have something going on, Sue, you got another project you want to push, just, hit us up
Well, I
and
was
we'll be more than happy.
when the book is done for Tony, I'd love for me and him to come on and talk about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%. You got it. You got it. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody joining us tonight, and we will see everybody on the next
Okay.
episode of For the Sake.
For the sake.
Here.
Thank
See you, man.
Take care.
Heaviness.
Awesome.
Be